Hello, everybody. Welcome to HonorMyRiseTV. Thank you for joining us and taking the time out to watch with us. Today, we're going to be talking about coping and healing. I have a very beautiful, intelligent young lady with me today, Miss Lucynthia, who will be joining us and talking about coping is not healing. So let's just jump right into it.
Hey.
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Amazing.
All right. She has such a beautiful smile, y'all.
Oh, stop. Jesus.
Most of us were never taught to handle or process our emotions. We
Right.
were taught survival modes. We jump into a work or we pick a hobby, we drink, whatever, to try to cope with what we're dealing with, opposed to talking it through or trying to work it out in a healthier fashion.
Yeah.
What are socially acceptable ways people numb themselves, you think?
Um, that's acceptable. I can't think of, let me think. I I don't know of any acceptable ways. I think I can only think of um the non-acceptable ways that people numb.
Basically, that's what I'm looking for. When I say socially acceptable, not what we.
Right. Definitely drugs, alcohol, any type of substance abuse. Mm, yeah, man. Just not taking care of yourself. Just self-harm, honestly.
Right. Some people uh become angry. They
Yeah.
lash out at other people. They rob, they steal. I mean, people use all kind of reasons that in society that if it's not socially acceptable, it has become the norm. Anger. People get angry, what they do, they go lash out. They either gonna cuss
Mm,
somebody out or fight somebody or get an attitude or whatever, which
yeah.
has become the norm. These are some of the things that we expect.
Yeah.
Can you tell me when you ask a friend or a family member, whoever, that's going through something, you say, "How are you doing?" And they respond, "Oh, I'm fine."
Yeah.
What does that really mean?
Honestly, like I know when I use it, it's kind of just like a wall of like I'm gonna be okay and I got it. Like I'll get myself through it kind of thing. Um, or just even knowing that eventually you will be. I think sometimes you just say I'm fine because maybe at that moment you don't want to talk about it, or a lot of us are stubborn and we just rather like get ourselves through it. And that's just me speaking for myself, honestly. Like I know if I were to say that, that's probably where it's coming from for me. But I guess it can vary for other people. Some people could just be I'm fine, and then they break down 2 seconds later.
But they're really not fine.
Yeah.
Um, how do we know when we're trying to cope with a situation other than trying to resolve the situation?
I think just for the most part, like staying busy, staying, keeping distractions in your face. Like again, goes back to, excuse me, any type of, substance you may be using to not feel that feeling or feel those emotions or have to deal with them when you're alone by yourself. And I just really think that the first step to depending on what type of grief and trauma it is, like I don't think there are certain things you can ever truly heal from. I think it becomes a point of like just accepting it, just knowing that, like, say if you lose someone that, for the rest of your life, you will always be a bit different than you were before. And you just have to accept the moments that for the rest from this point moving on, there may be times where I just get randomly sad out of nowhere, or this situation will harm me, but just knowing like to just having the strength to pull yourself back out of it, but just also accepting that that's kind of like your new norm. That's your new reality in a sense. So I feel like that would be more of a, just accepting is more healing. And I feel like coping is just more of like, let me just keep myself distracted and busy and just moving and moving. And eventually it all comes crashing down on you.
Yeah, like diving into your work,
Yeah.
like you said, drugs, alcohol,
Yeah.
I've had friends that just out of nowhere just start partying like crazy.
Yeah.
First of all, and you mentioned acceptance. First of all, we have to accept the situation.
Correct. Yeah.
Then we have to identify what is triggering us through that situation
Mm.
and find a resolution. Like you said, you'll never fully heal certain griefs and trauma. You'll never fully heal from, but you learn to accept it and survive it,
Hmm.
opposed to letting it succumb you and take over your life and
Yeah.
hinder you from moving forward in your life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
What is your take on coping versus healing?
Um, what I mean, pretty much what I just said. Like, I just feel like um coping is the more common thing. It's the easier thing to do of just, well, I don't want to say easier because sometimes you just like, you're not even aware that you're doing it. It's just kind of, you fell into a dark space. But, and my take on healing is just like I said, it's like really facing it and going through it and accepting it and then just taking the necessary steps to learn how to carry it better. Like some things will never go away. I can't say like it's never going to hurt again, but just knowing that, okay, I have to address those feelings. I think some people are really terrified of their emotions to feel, that pain. Because who
Right.
wants to do that when I could just numb it?
Well, see, coping helps you get through the moment, for right now. It's
Mm-hmm.
temporary. Healing addresses the root of the situation, whatever that may be. Coping keeps you functioning, but healing changes how the pain shows up in your daily life. Like the loss of a loved one, loss of your job. Grief comes in many forms. And when you're coping, you're only dealing with it for the moment. Let's say you throw your stuff into your job. Well, once you clock out and go home, everything that you was putting all this energy in at work to get your mind off it, now you got quiet time.
Right.
And
It's like that distraction. It's just
exactly.
like, I mean, yeah, like it's just you. I don't know. Coping is just. I feel like I wanted to ask you: do you feel like there is a healthy way to cope, or a better way to cope that doesn't? Because eventually you could overwork yourself, and then that takes a toll on your health. So like, what are some healthy ways of coping that you would suggest for people? If
But
there are any, I don't know that.
that depends on what you're dealing with. You know, you can find some healthy activities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. Something you wanted to do all your life. Maybe you want to write a book. You know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah.
your goal was to read 20 books in a year. You know, maybe your goal was to build something. Put your mind into that. You know, what we forget or don't realize, in my opinion, is we all here on a loan. None of us is promised tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing we have is promised or guaranteed. Losing a loved one, losing your house, losing your job, whatever the case may be. We first have to look at ourselves and say, you know what? I can get through this.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing to, put yourself into your work or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to do it in moderation.
Yeah.
When you do things excessively, no matter what it is,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes a hindrance down the road. This is something you become dependent on it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's not the way. There's 100 different things. There's all kinds of activities. Mentor some kids, coach a little league team, volunteer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Stuff
that's a
like
good way.
that.
Okay, because I think for me, I think when I just I don't know why coping for me, I just instantly go to like a negative way to do it. You know what I'm saying? Or like the negative ways that it can go. So it's nice to hear like I didn't think about like, oh, mentoring kids. That could be a nice goal. Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Doesn't
um,
always have to be so bad.
and just because you're a counselor, a therapist, a life coach, a teacher, whatever, at some point in our lives, we all go through something.
Yeah.
When I got sick a couple of years ago, really sick, I reached for one of my passions, writing. That's how I coped with it. That's how, I'm not gonna say
Mm,
cope, but that's how I got through it. That's how
yeah.
I start healing because I started putting things on into words.
Yeah.
And it worked out pretty good. I came out with 19 books.
Yeah.
You know, I
So do you
found, go ahead.
so do you think with a healthy way of coping, like how you write, it will eventually lead you to your healing process?
Exactly. And see, that's where I come in. Because when you're trying to go through your healing process, I would advise nobody to go it alone. Because there's going to be times where you're going to want to give up. You're not going to understand what you're going through. Because, like you said before, there's days, you have your good days, you have your bad days.
Mhm.
And you need somebody that is not in your immediate circle to kind of coach you through those bad days, to recognize your good days, somebody you can talk to and vent to without judgment, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
Now, what are some of the ways you choose to heal? I'm not going to say cope, I'm going to say heal.
My first step to healing was definitely reading my Bible, finally opening my Bible and reading it for myself, page by page, and sitting there and dissecting each story, understanding it. Um, that definitely put a nice start to my healing journey. And then just kind of really looking at yourself for who you are, flaws and all. Like healing is not pretty, it's not easy, it does not feel good. But just stripping down to your most like vulnerable self and just you kind of it's like you stripping yourself of everything and just rebuilding again, you know. That's kind of what it looks like for me right now. Just
And it's
unlearning a lot of things and
mhm,
relearning the new things that I need to apply to my mind mentally to, help me
exactly.
move forward.
And then some of us are so stubborn, so prideful, or whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
till we will not ask for help. We
Mm,
will not share.
that's me.
You know what I mean?
That's me for
I know when you're dealing with something, the last thing you want to constantly hear is, "Are you okay? How do you feel?" You
Yeah,
know,
it's
those
annoying.
type of things. But it's not, it's the reason these questions are being asked because people want to know. Some people want to know because they just doggone nosy, but some people genuinely care. And
Yeah.
we put a wall up because I know I'm one of those people. I
Hmm.
am, and I'm a work in progress.
Hmm.
I figure I can figure it out on my own. I deal with it on my own. I'm not
Yeah.
looking for somebody to judge me. See, I've always been the person that people go to. A lot of people call me the resource lady.
Yeah.
And when people look up to you like that, you are fearful that if you become vulnerable and
Mm-hmm.
let your guard down, they're going to look at you differently. You
Use it
know,
against you.
I
They could use it against you. You know, those
exactly.
are some thoughts that, yeah, because now I've shown you my weakness. So,
Or
yeah.
throw it up in your face at a later date,
Mm-hmm.
So we tend to be standoffish. We tend to keep things inside, locked in here.
Yeah.
But that is one of the worst things you can do because at some point it's going to affect you in more ways than you can imagine, mentally, physically, emotionally. It can affect your health. A lot of people who go through health issues, it's stress and anxiety. Takes a
Yeah.
huge, huge toll on your body.
Yeah.
We have to learn to be vulnerable. Not with everybody, but that's where people like me come in. You can Everything here is confidential. Never discuss with anybody without your consent. Some people they won't go to their best friends. Some things kids won't go to their parents about because of whatever reason. And that in turns makes you ill inside.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Headaches. They don't eat. They stress. They can't sleep. Things like that. You know, we have to learn to let that wall down. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to about it to family, friends, for fear of being judged or having it thrown back into your face, again, that's where coaching comes in. I don't believe that everything needs medication. And I want to ask your take on that.
Oh yeah, I do not believe in medicine. I do not like it. I am so against it. I am so that annoying person, like allow the body to do what the body can do for itself. I'm so for it. If we could find a natural way, just because I've just seen what it does. Like it's like it fixed one thing, but then it ruins like 50 other things in the body. So it's like, yeah, no, I don't be with the medicine. Mm-mm.
You know, Modern science has created certain things that will help certain areas, like medications for diabetes or the
Yeah,
medicine and stuff they use for people with cancer, chemo, radiation.
right, right, right.
But no matter what you take, there's a side effect,
Yeah.
you know. And again, everything don't take a prescription.
Yeah. But you know what's scary about that is like even with my beliefs of being like anti-medicine, it's still scary for me because like you said, there are more, serious health scares where it's like I wouldn't personally know. Like if I saw a sick family member, I hated seeing 20 bottles of medication on your drawer, but I don't want to be the one to be like, don't take that. And then, it kills you quicker than expected or before God wanted your time to be. So that's like what's tricky for me. So I feel like I wish that I would take the time to just gain more knowledge onto looking into different herbals of how to heal the body, like just being more knowledgeable about that before I tell people like you shouldn't take your medicine,
Yeah,
which I need
because
to, because it's like I just don't like it, but it's like I need
I'm
to do
not a
it.
big fan of medicine either. And with the scare I had, I was on medication that
Mm.
did help me. And I feel okay, I'm feeling fine. I feel good, no pains, no nothing. I stopped taking it. After about 2 weeks, I went right backwards.
But was it mental though? Like was
No,
it
it wasn't
like remember the placebo pill? Okay, all right, I'm
I
just asking.
wouldn't say it was mental because I'm not one that is quick to take pills and whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling good. I say, okay, it did its job. I'm done. But after, like I said, about 2 weeks or so, I could tell the difference. and I was going backwards, and I started having the episodes again. So I started back taking them.
Yeah.
After about several days or so, I started feeling better.
Yeah.
So that told me this is something I actually need and that is going to help me,
Yeah.
you know.
No, you're right. You're right. And then it's just like certain levels of pain that's like you can't tolerate it. So it's like, and then they got some stuff out there because I know if I like have, an extreme pain like that ibuprofen 800 is it's being taken. But then I always feel like, dang, is there another way to like heal this pain without having to put this in my body? But sometimes you just in pain.
Yeah, I take a lot of hot soaks with Epsom salt. I look for alternative ways to
Yeah,
fix me, you know, but everybody can't do that,
exactly. That, yeah, you're
you
right.
know. And
Yeah.
I would say to people, I'm not going to say not trust your doctor, but know your body,
That's
know
good.
yourself.
That's good.
That's the key because some doctors will push medication on you that you don't need. I've had that done to me. They steady pushing high blood pressure medicine on me, and I don't suffer from high blood pressure. And because I know my body, I know me, you can't give it to me. Oh, it's for maintenance. I'm not a sink. I'm not a stove. You
Mm.
know, treat what I need you to treat, what I came in here for.
Yeah.
You know,
Taking your car to the car shop and then you go to get an oil change and they tell you like eight other things wrong with your car. You're like, bro, just change my oil. Just give me
exactly.
one medication today and don't try to sell me on like 20 other ones. But it's money grab sometimes. That's what makes it scary. Like that's really why I just be like, man, it's tough. So definitely
Exactly.
go back and forth on it a lot for sure. But
But
if I,
again, like I say, I stress, know your body, know what triggers you, what's wrong with you. Don't just take the doctor's word for it. If the doctor tells you something and you're not feeling or you're feeling a little uneasy about what he or she has said, get a second opinion. I'm not saying the doctor is wrong, the doctor may be correct, but get a
Mhm.
second opinion. Pay attention to you, pay attention to your body, mentally and physically,
Yeah.
because you're the best advocate for you.
Hmm.
Nobody else.
Yeah. You said it, and there it is, right in the bag. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Now, if you had to tell people about coping and healing, what would be, these are our final thoughts. What would you tell the world about coping and healing?
Um, Healing is necessary. You can't grow if you don't heal. Coping is something that, I understand why we do it, but you can't cope with it forever. Eventually, you are going to have to heal or begin that process. And it's not going to be easy. Healing is not something where you just get sage and you cleanse your body, boom, I'm healed, everything is washed away. Healing is you have to reach back into those dark places. You got to go revisit that trauma. You have to, like you said, you have to get to the core of it. But I highly encourage everybody to start their healing journey. That's what I got. Let me wrap it up. So we got a few seconds left. Oh, okay. Oh, I thought that said 1 minute. It's 9 minutes. I was like trying to rush, but
Take it down.
yeah, that's what I would say, man. I'm so for healing, but I always tell people it's ugly. Healing is ugly, man. But like once you start to see the outcome of it, like you on the other side of healing, it's that's the beauty. And
Exactly.
just for me, I keep God very close in my journey. I don't mean to become that overly like God, 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 but like that has been such a key to my healing process. He has gotten me through so much, like, the strength or the days where I didn't have it, or I am that person who I'm not going to pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, I'm having a weak day. I'm not feeling as strong. Can you come help me? Even though I know I have people in my life that would, I don't have it in me to make that call. but I know that I can show up to God vulnerable as I am, tears, and just put it all out there. And it's between me and you. And I've been feeling better. Sometimes it's like, okay, if I don't trust venting to people, I know I have to get it out somewhere. So let me
Right.
talk to God about it. Let me hear God and let Him guide me through it. And it's just like, for me, I couldn't do it on my own. It's not me. It's God guiding me through my healing. And it's days where, like I said, you really got to check yourself, hold
Well, I
yourself
want
accountable for things. And then there's so many pieces to healing. And then you healing in so many different areas. It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy, but it's beautiful.
and you wouldn't believe the load that it will release off of you.
Yeah, like just let it. The trauma, oh, like I realized during my journey, I was holding on to so much well, I'm not gonna say unnecessary, but I was just holding on to so much childhood trauma. Like I'm 35 right now. You have to put this baggage down eventually so it does not carry over into my future. And, if I decide to start a family one day, I can't bring this on to my generation that I want to
Exactly.
create. This has to stop here. And that's when excuse me, this is really what I had to tell myself. Like, yo, you got to the healing needs to start. It needs to begin. Now you're drinking and it's like you're happy or you smoking or whatever. Like, so my coping for me, I never had healthy outlets, I don't think. Even with my work, at first it seems healthy because it's like, oh, well, I'm doing what I love. But like now I'm overworking myself to the point where I'm no longer taking care of my body and my health. So now my body's breaking down. Now you get scared and it's like, oh, can't cope. I can only cope like this so long. So I definitely just encourage it. Like, don't stay in that coping phase forever. Like you will have to begin that healing process for you, not for anybody else, for you. It is so necessary.
I want to thank you, Miss Lucinda, for joining me today and sharing your thoughts and whatnot. Never apologize for bringing God into the equation. Never. I
Mm,
don't care how many times you bring him
mm.
into the equation. It's all right. For you listeners and watchers out there, take heed to this conversation. Take a step back and evaluate yourself. If you
Mhm.
feel that you need some help on your healing journey, that's what Honor My Rise Grief and Trauma LLC is here. You can hit me up on Honor My Rise Grief and Trauma on Facebook, X, Instagram, most any social media, or you can email me at honormyrise@gmail.com. I want to thank you all. Stay healthy, mind, body, and spirit. Again, Ms.
Oh, I thought
Cynthia,
about Soul
I
Train.
appreciate you. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much for having me. It was a pleasure and a great conversation.
Same here. All right.